Hi, my name is Lily and welcome to my channel and welcome to my 2023 edition of the mid-year freakout tag. So the mid-year freakout tag includes everything from the first 6 months of the year. So anybody that did this in June and did not include June's books in this tag was wrong. It happens after the mid-year point, which is the end of June. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about books that I read up until the end of June. So as I'm making this in July, it's been difficult because there's been some amazing books in July that I've wanted to include, but I will not be doing that. So by the end of June, I had read 51 books. This makes me one book ahead in my reading goals for the year. I want to read 100 books this year. So by the end of June, I had to read 50. So 51, pretty good, means I'm off at a good pace for the rest of the year. So with that being said, I'm going to go straight into the questions. So the first question is, what is the best book you have read this year? This one was tricky because I have 3 that are pretty close together, 2 that are even more so, but the clear winner for me was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is an adult fantasy, it is cozy fantasy, it's about an orc who decides to give up the usual kind of orc activities to open a coffee shop in a town that has never heard of coffee before. So it follows her as she quite literally builds her coffee shop, and then after it has opened, how things go from there. It's a beautiful, wonderful story and I just adored it. I listened to the audiobook. I don't have a physical copy, but I would really like to get one day, and what I wouldn't give for the Fairy Loot special edition of it. But I don't have that, sadly. The other 2 that came close to winning this were Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros and The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Songu Mundana. The next question is, what is the best sequel you have read this year? I haven't read a ton of sequels, but the one that really stands out to me from the ones I have read is If Only You by Chloe Leese, which is no surprise, everyone on this channel knows I love Chloe Leese. So this is an adult contemporary romance. It follows our youngest Bergman child, which is Ziggy in the Bergman Brothers series. Ziggy is a girl though, it's a Bergman sisters book. So this one is after the time jump that happened in previous books. So Ziggy is now in her early 20s. She has been signed onto a professional soccer team, but she has this kind of good girl sheltered image and she wants to break free from that. And then you have her brother's best friend, who I can't remember the name of the top of my head, but he has this kind of bad boy image in the hockey world and he is at risk of losing his place on his team because of some bad boy incidents. So they decide to be fake friends to help meet their images in the middle. So bring his down a bit, make him look a bit better behaved, and bring hers up a little bit by making her look a bit more adventurous. So it is a friends to lovers romance with autism rep. Ziggy is autistic and I really enjoyed it. The next question is, what are some new releases from this year that you haven't read yet and would like to? So there's a few. I think Lost in the Moment and Found by Shauna Maguire, I think that came out this year and that would be my biggest one. I've just acquired that one, but I couldn't find it where I'd hidden it. It's probably under my bed. That's the newest book in the Wayward Children series, so I would love to read that one soon because that is one of my favourite series of all time. And then a couple others from the top of my head. We have Vivi Conway, which is by Lizzie Huxley Jones. This is a middle grade fantasy book. And then Like a Curse, which is a sequel to Like a Charm by Elle McNichol. Really need to read that one soon. And I'm really sure I have some Tessa Bailey releases that came out this year that I need to read, but I can't remember because she releases books quite quickly. Okay, so the next one is, what is a new release in the second half of 2023 that you are most anticipating? I have 3 because I refuse to give just one. So the one that first came to mind when I was planning this is the sequel to Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, which is Iron Flame. That one I think comes out in November and I will be forever grateful that she's written it this fast and that we get book 2 so quickly. However, I think this is meant to be a 5-book series, so I'm guessing we're not going to get all the books quite so quickly. But she was originally a contemporary romance author, so it does kind of explain why she's writing so fast, because like romance authors, once they learn to write fast, they can write fast. Like, they're some skilled people. So I'm very grateful that we're getting the second book so quickly, and I really hope it's not a huge wait for the rest of the books, but I will forgive it if there is. Then, of course, we have Heartstopper Volume 5, which I think it has just been announced it's coming out in December now, not November, but still, that's 2023. Very excited. And then finally, the prequel to Legends and Lattes, which is called Bookshops and Bone Dust, is coming out, I think, in November, and I'm very excited for that now that I've read Legends and Lattes. I have pre-ordered it, and I'm super excited. Next question is, what is your biggest disappointment so far of the year? I have two for this one. The first one I have talked about already, I think, on my channel quite a bit, which is Babel by R.F. Kuang. So this one, I would admit I wasn't expecting to love it, because I did try to read The Poppy Bore and I didn't enjoy the writing style, and Babel I had been told was very dense, but I thought I would enjoy it more than I did. But unfortunately for me, it just was way too slow. The characters were all so unlikable, and I ended up DNFing that one quite early on. So that one was less of a I thought it would be amazing, I just didn't think it would be as bad as it was for me. My other one is Ace of Spades. I can't remember the author for that one, but this is a YA thriller, and everyone when this came out was talking about how it was a 5-star amazing read, one of the best things they've ever read, like an amazing YA thriller, and I read it and thought, this is really obvious and really boring. So it was a disappointment because I was expecting a new 4 or 5-star read, and I think it came out as a 3-star for me, if not a 2. So yeah, it wasn't bad, it was nowhere near the quality I was expecting, unfortunately. Question number 6 is, what is the biggest surprise of the year so far? And for me, that was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I'm going to be talking about it a fair bit in this. So Fourth Wing is a new fantasy book. Some people are calling it fantasy romance. To me, it read more fantasy with a romance than fantasy romance. But because people were talking about it being a fantasy romance, I wasn't expecting to love it. And honestly, when I read the blurb, I was kind of like, this sounds okay, but not completely like something I would run to pick up. But the hype was getting to me, so I thought, look, I'm going to give it a go because everyone's talking about it. And last time there was a book that I felt like had this much hype, it was kind of like A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I loved that book. So I thought I'd give it a go, and I did love it. It came out, I think, as a 5-star for me, and like I said, it was in the running for best book in the first half of the year. So I was really, really surprised by that. I thought this was going to be another From Blood and Ash. I didn't like From Blood and Ash, and I thought that's what this was going to be like, and I thought it would be like a 3-star at most. But no, standout favourite, 5-star for me. Question number 7 is, who is your new favourite author that you found this year? And for me, it is Elle Kennedy. I know Elle Kennedy has been around for a while, but I have discovered her books this year and I have been devouring them. I started with the Off Campus series on audio, and I'm now reading the Briar U sequel series to Off Campus, and I have a few other books from her on my TBR in various places, so I've been really surprised by that. I struggle sometimes with romance authors where I like one book and I absolutely adore it, and then when I try their other books and it's not the tropes that I like, I don't like it as much. So it was really nice to find one where I loved all the books of hers that I've tried. Some were better than others, naturally because some tropes I don't enjoy as much, but yeah, she has been a new favourite for me, a new one where I want to try all of her books and find some really good ones. She was my first foray into hockey romance, and it's really kicked off my love for hockey romance. Question number 8 is, who is your new fictional crush? I don't really get these. I think the closest I have is Rhys, and he's not new. He's been around for a long time. Rhys from A Court of Mist and Fury. I don't really get them. I do really fall in love with some of the love interests while I'm reading the books, but none of them have really stayed with me afterwards in the way that Rhys has. And I think the only reason that has happened is because there's such a big community and universe around A Court of Thorns and Roses. People talk about it so much that I've kind of internalised it a bit more. But yeah, as per usual, no new ones for me. Question number 9 is, who's your new favourite character in a book? For me, it has got to be Thimble from Legends and Lattes. This is the only character when I read this question that immediately came to mind. There's been a few other characters like the dragons in Fourth Wing I really enjoyed, and some romance side characters that I really loved, but Thimble was different because I just loved his gentle and sweet nature. In the book, he is a baker, and I just loved his cute little moments where he discovers new things, tries new things. He is very adorable, and I just yeah, I really loved Thimble. He was my favourite character in Legends and Lattes, and I'm kind of sad because the other book is a prequel. I won't see more of him, but yeah, I loved him. Question number 10 is, what is a book that has made you cry? Now, I don't have an answer for the first half of the year because books very, very rarely make me cry. But as a little bonus, I know I said I wouldn't do this, but I have had one book make me cry this year, and that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which I read in July. And I'm going to talk about it because I don't have any from the first part of the year. No books in the first 6 months made me cry, but Becky Chambers managed it. It's very, very rare for me to cry at books, but there was a moment with Corbin and Ohan towards the end of A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet that made me cry, and it was like positive crying. Like I was very emotional because they got some amazing character growth. Yeah, I won't say any more than that because it'd be spoilers, but that's as close as you're going to get for this answer. Question number 11 is, what is a book that has made you happy so far this year? I feel like I'm just going to keep talking about these books over and over again, but Legends and Lattes and The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, these two just felt so cozy, and I just felt so peaceful and happy while I read them, and they were such a joy to read. There probably are a few romances that made me happy while reading them, but none that really stick out to me in the way that those two cozy fantasies did. Question number 12 is, what is your favourite adaptation this year? I actually haven't seen any. I keep thinking that I have because I saw the My Neighbor Totoro play this year, and I'm like, that's an adaptation, that was amazing, but then I remember it's an adaptation of a movie. So I haven't seen any book adaptations this year. I don't watch a ton of TV or films anymore. I used to when I lived alone, but these days I don't tend to sit down and watch things. Like if I have free time, I'm probably either doing something video related or reading. I just don't watch a lot of TV and film anymore. And there haven't actually been that many adaptations this year compared to other years. I think COVID is still having a hangover effect these days, but also we have the problem of streaming now, where everything goes onto streaming platforms, and it's just impossible to watch some of them because I don't have a subscription. The one that I do need to watch that has been out this year is A Kind of Spark. I started watching it, and I just found there's some ableism in the book that was a lot more jarring to watch on screen, so I unfortunately didn't get to finish that series, but I am determined to go back and watch it because I love that book, so I really want to support the series, and I will when I am able to. Question number 13 is, what is your favourite video you've made this year? So this was a tie between two that I was, one that I was very proud of for thinking of doing and following through, and the other one that was just really fun to make. So the first one is my trying 3 different book clubs vlog. So I was talking to my therapist about how I felt really lonely and disconnected, and she said, okay, well, you said you really like reading, have you ever looked to find book clubs you can join? And I was scared, but I decided to go for it, and I didn't want to just go with one because I didn't want to try one a month and then it'd be boring, and then the next month I'd try another one. So I decided to just go for it and try 3 and I actually remembered to vlog all of it, and I was really proud of that. I tried 2 virtual ones. One was a Patreon one was a like book club only, so you don't get any other like benefits, you just get this book club, and then one is the in-person one with my local Waterstones. At the time I finished, I loved the 2 virtual ones, and I was going to see if I could get on with the in-person one anymore, and I did. And I'm going next week and I really love it now. So I now have 3 book clubs that I need to read books for every month, or not quite every month. One of them is bi-monthly, but yeah, that one I loved because I was really proud of myself for following through on that video. I often forget about vlogs. Now that I've started making the vlogs more how I want to make them and theming them how I want to theme them, and not just doing like weekly vlogs, I found myself a lot more motivated to read and to vlog, and it's been great. The other video was my reading bookish Am I the Arsehole stories from Reddit, and I just loved filming that one. That was so fun. I love reading Am I the Arsehole posts myself, and I love watching other people react to them, so I decided to do my own reaction video, and it performed well, which was really nice, and I just had a really, really fun time making it, and I will be making more because if it does well, and so people enjoy watching it and I enjoy making it, it's a win-win. Question number 14 is, what is the most beautiful book that you have bought this year? Unfortunately, I can't hold up either of the books I'm going to talk to you about because they're buried, and I was not going to dig them out for this video, I'm sorry. So the first one is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. This is a YA contemporary about the war in Syria, and it is just such a beautiful cover, and you can really see how the culture has informed some of the design on the cover, and I absolutely adore it. I love the colours, I love the detail, it's just so beautiful. And then the other one is A Magic Steeped in Poison, which I think is another YA. This one is a fantasy book, and I just loved the creativity, the colours, and how it just grabs your attention. I'd not actually heard anyone talk about this, I just saw it on one of the pyramid tables in Waterstones, and it was like, so it was face up, and I saw that cover and I was like, I need this book. And the final question is, what is a book that you really need to read before the end of the year? So I am planning on doing a review of my 23 for 2023 so far this year. So that is my video that I uploaded, I think back in January, which was a list of 23 books I wanted to read before the end of 2023. And I need to do a recap video to catch up, see how I'm doing with it. Spoiler alert, I have not read many of them, so there's quite a few from that list that I need to read, and they will start going on. I'm planning TBRs a bit more now. I've come out of kind of a bad mental health patch, and I'm able to direct my reading more than mood reading, so I can start putting them on TBRs to try and make sure I read them this year. So something that's a little bit more interesting for you to hear about, I want to read the rest of the Wayfarers series by Becky Chambers. I managed to get the Illuma Crate set for almost RRP on Vinted of this series, so I want to finish it. I adored the first book so much. I would read them in July, like now, but I need to catch up on my book club books first. So once I have caught up with my book club books, if I have time at the end of July, I will start reading them. If not, they will be in August. So that was the mid-year freakout tag. I hope you enjoyed this and found this really interesting. Let me know in the comments what your best book of the first half of the year was and your worst. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to see more content from me. All of my social media links are in the description below, and if you'd like to leave me a comment to let me know you are here, leave me a sunshine emoji in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Bye!